Plugin of the week comes from iZotope. It is the very recently released Aurora plugin. It is a reverb plugin with a resonance suppression kind of built into it. Let's take a look at it. One of the things that's most annoying about it is that there's no zoom in control, so I'm going to have to do this manually on my own. I don't know why you wouldn't have a resize graphic, but they don't. All right. Bitching aside, let's get right to it. So what we have is a reverb plugin. You're going to put it, it's basically designed to be a quick reverb. It's more or less using the exponential audio algorithms that are already part of the iZotope collection of plugins. They absorbed that company several years ago, and which is really great reverb. Or reverb, set of reverbs. And so they took that and they put together something with a little bit of a resonance suppression section, which you'll see over here. This selection of different room types: hall, room, chamber, plate, ambience, and cathedral. So you can select from those. We have a reverb. This is basically just like a gain control for the reverb. If you put it on a track, so it will allow the audio signal to pass through, the dry audio signal to pass through unaffected, and this would be your reverb level. So rather than a wet-dry control, you get the reverb level. If you hit solar reverb, then that would be the configuration for a send-return kind of configuration, or if you just want a track to be all reverbed out. You have pre-delay, decay time, all pretty straightforward. It's designed to be real simple, fast user interface. Width control, right? So you can mono it up or you can make it wide, that kind of thing. You can adjust the tonal character to lean darker or brighter. It has a high-pass filter, low-pass filter for the reverb, so you can kind of tailor it if you want it to be into a tighter spectrum of frequencies. This is a display window that will show you both the incoming audio signal level, show you the reverb level, and then this line here will show you suppression. If we head on over to here, most of these are just sort of normal toolbar stuff with the presets, bypass, reset to default settings, couple of preferences, nothing really of note, showing tooltips, and this will link you out to the manual. The unmask, this will determine the amount of suppression or resonance suppression. You have an attack and release time for it, so you can kind of shape how aggressively the suppression occurs on the original signal. You have a sensitivity control, and this is like a threshold control. So as you pull this higher, you'll get more. It's like setting the threshold lower, and then you'll get more resonance suppression. And as you bring it lower, it'll lighten it up. You could, if you hit the little ear thing here, you can hear what it is that it's putting together here, right? What the settings are here. Otherwise, this activates or deactivates it as a whole. So you'll still have the reverb. You'll just have, you can operate it without that, or you can operate it with it. Either way. So I just have a quick thing here, just some simple drums. Let's just kind of quickly go through some of the presets, just so you kind of get a sense of what the different reverb sounds are like here. We'll see. I'll turn off the resonance section for a second. All right, so if we were doing drums here, I would probably select the chamber out of the group just quickly. And then, of course, you have tone controls. Width control. Right, so you can just kind of control. You can see how, like with the width control, really draws it out front, which might be great for vocal, or maybe drums. Pre-delay control, pretty straightforward. decay time control. Now, what makes the plugin interesting is not all of this stuff here. It's the whole unmasking feature here. And so this will be the resonance suppression portion of the program. Let's see if we can dial this in real quick. All right, so let me take this in and out. Sorry, I didn't mean to, used to using the bypass here. Let's just take this resonance control in and out. I would probably make it a bit more active here. Let me speed up the attack, right? And the basic idea of it is that it's designed to kind of clean up the resonant frequencies and the reverb so that you hear the reverb better. Now, obviously, that's going to translate, and that can be part of the sound, but you could hear the clarity that it kind of adds to the sound. And also, there's, in this case, is a little bit of a loss of level. I could, kind of back off on some of the sensitivity there to kind of get it to dial in. So what I thought about this initially, because when I called up the plugin, I thought, okay, the reverb presets are pretty good sounding, like there's obviously limitations on the ability to control it beyond the simple parameters here, and that's basically what it is designed for. But if you were going to call up any one of the exponential audio reverbs, like Symphony or one of those, you would have all kinds of parameters that you could dial in that would actually give you a much more, effective reverb for whatever sound you were kind of putting it on. And so I thought, all right, well, what if I did that? And what if I just took like a Seventh Heaven Pro and kind of came up with, just a small chamber here? All right, so I had quickly dialed in a sound for this, and then just went through and said, all right, well, what if I just take a plugin like Soothe, and I kind of sidechain it, right, so that the drums here are kind of feeding in, and then just kind of dial it in to do some suppression on my own. And then I would have far more control. I could get a much better sounding reverb that's perhaps a bit more dialed in the way I want it to be, and just do the suppression automatically with any kind of resonance shaping plugin like this that would allow you to kind of dial it in and sort of do a very kind of similar thing. Now, of course, the benefit of the Aurora plugin is simple, cheap. You throw it on a track, get a quick reverb, and it's great for that. But just conceptually, all you're doing is just a resonance control, throwing it after. And there's so many things that are similar to this, but maybe just not taken on a frequency basis, where it's a spectral kind of thing. There's always been gating. There's always been ducking, or ducking is, compressing reverbs, sort of similar type of thing where you get it to pump and breathe. Compressing the signal prior to the reverb to kind of get it to focus in. There's loads of gating. Put a gate like on a snare drum that's got bleed on it before it goes into the plate reverb, so it's nice and clean. There's all kinds of ways of using dynamics to kind of process a signal to kind of do it. But personally, I didn't really think about using the resonance suppression, and I probably wouldn't have expected it to work as well as it did. But the idea conceptually is really cool. And if you already got some plugins like this, like Soothe 2 and Seventh Heaven, I'm not sure that you really need Aurora. So this is an unusual sort of plugin of the week in that normally I'm telling you to look at a plugin because it has like a certain cool sound to it or something that might be unique that might fit your kind of world, right, in terms of the sounds that you like, or might be a cool tool for the way that you work. But really, the benefit of this and why it's plugin of the week is almost because it actually shows something, a way of processing your reverbs that's actually really cool. So maybe it's really more of a mix tip of the week, brought to you by iZotope. And me just kind of looking at it and saying, you know what, I could dial this in better with my own reverb plugins. But anyway, if you want a cheap version of it, it actually is pretty cool. I think that some of the controls here, the unmasking controls, could definitely be more active, like a little bit more responsive. Seems a little bit sluggish to me overall in terms of the way that it kind of, suppresses resonances. But the basic controls work pretty quickly. And if you're just kind of dialing something quick in, actually might be a good solution for you. But if you got the time, it's worth checking that out and throwing whatever resonance suppression plugin that you have that can be sidechain triggered, or maybe not, and throwing it on. You could just do it with a reverb without the sidechain trigger, and it's actually a pretty cool technique. All right, well, there you have it. Mix tip of the week, I guess, as much of a plugin of the week, courtesy of iZotope with their new reverb plugin called Aurora.